A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am absolutely delighted to welcome you all here at our roundtable, Technologies to Reshape the Future of Retail, powered by Honeywell. And thank you again for joining us here. I know it is after hours, so we will try our level best to make sure today's session is informative, insightful, and of course a little bit of fun as well. So looking forward to the entertainment and the networking event that happens outside. But today, as I said, we are going to discuss technologies to reshape your retail ecosystem. For retailers, 2022 holds both promises and challenges. It could be a banner year for shopping with e-commerce poised for its first trillion-dollar year. But before brands and retailers can take advantage of pent-up shopping demand, they must navigate a few challenges, a few hurdles, including supply chain issues, staffing shortages, and figuring out where to put their hard-earned money, considering new technologies that shape both human behavior and shopping behavior keep emerging all the time. Today's consumers is inundated with digital noise coming from emails, WhatsApps, text messages, social media, digital ads, and so on. Let me just put this in numbers for you, yeah? Consumers are faced with 6 billion texts received across the globe, in addition to 306 billion emails sent to customers on a daily basis. Now let's just flip it to the other side, to the retailers present here. What are they faced with? There's just so much technology available today out there that claims to make shopping journeys and experiences that much more better, that much more efficient, that much more profitable. So how exactly do you cut through the clutter and noise and this digital noise to get to the real value of all of these technologies? Well, as retail media, we love our jargons and we love our abbreviations, right? So for the longest time, we used the 4 Ps: people, productivity, processes, profits. And then we moved on to the 3 Cs: content, commerce, community. Today, let me introduce the 3 Is. They're basically invisibility, indispensability, and intimacy. And according to me, this is where the real value for technologies in retail exists. Well, none of us can really predict the future, but I do believe that the people in this room, that is all of you, and the people on this boardroom table, have a pretty good understanding of where the future of retail is headed towards. So without further ado, let me welcome you all again for our roundtable, that is Technologies to Reshape Your Retail Ecosystem. And to do that, let me invite Roman Paludnev up on stage to kick off the session. Roman, who is the General Manager of Honeywell Safety and Productivity Solutions, thank you so much for joining us, and over to you.
Thank you, Shruti. And first of all, welcome, and it's a real pleasure and honor to host you here under Honeywell umbrella, such a bright audience of flagship retailers of UAE. So I hope we as Honeywell will be able to add some insights and technologies to your business and also to your operations. Basically, needless to say that we all have busy schedules, and right now I would say we definitely having an interesting times. All these logistic, fulfillment, chip shortages, raw material price increase, and all other things are definitely keeping us busy. And on the other hand, the demand is actually started to go up. So pretty much globally and in our region, we see reports that both brick and mortar and e-commerce continue to go up from revenues perspective, from demand perspective, but unfortunately not necessarily from OI perspective, right? And this is one of the areas that we'll focus from Honeywell side. So basically to suggest you some of the ways how you can improve your operations and actually shave some additional processes and improvements in your operation to improve your OI, which is very important right now. And especially, one of the key consumer decision-making points is obviously price, right? So being able to deliver best product at the best price with the best experience, this is our ultimate target. And from technology perspective, Honeywell is here to help you. Apart from retail technologies, which is more related into fulfillment, and this is my part of the business, basically auto ID equipment, voice-guided work solution, automated fulfillment. This is what Honeywell Safety and Productivity Solutions is doing. We have more and more demand and interest for some other Honeywell solutions. And specifically, one of the areas that is picking up in recent years is energy efficiency, sustainability. Many companies have ESG goals right now, or commitments that they need to achieve. And this is where other parts of Honeywell started to play. So not only this auto ID and fulfillment part of Honeywell, which represented by me and my team, but performance technologies, performance materials, building solutions. That's the new parts of Honeywell that is entering the retail space. It's basically management of refrigerants. It's making distribution centers and warehouses more effective, especially where cold storage is involved, and all the way for supply chain improvements in this area. This is something that other Honeywell business units are doing. And we do have today Mohammed Mohaisen, a president for Honeywell Middle East and North Africa, who can help you with, I would say, advanced technologies from that other businesses that usually not known well in retail space. So things like cybersecurity, machine vision, and even quantum computing, if you will be interested. This is what we can address apart from our usual topics that we discuss with retailers. So with that, I hope you'll have an interesting discussion, and of course I encourage you to have a live discussion and also engagement after the panel part, so we will be able to showcase some of our products in details and actually enjoy our time. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Roman, for that. Yes, I've found my place here. That's me talking, yeah. Great, so before we start the panel, and I'm so glad that you're all here, I will introduce you all one by one. But before that, I just wanted to remind all the audience that we will be taking questions from you all during the session and after the session. So make sure you note down whatever question you have in that little notepad in front of you. And also, we've got a QR code on your badges, which you can scan. We'd love to hear your opinions, your feedback, and it will be great for us to review it at the end of this session. So, before we start, let me introduce our esteemed panel for you all. We have Piyush Kumar Chauhan, who is the Group CIO of Lulu Group International. We have Ramit Harisinghani, who is the General Manager at Shalhoub Group. Tawfiq Raidi, CEO of Brands for Less. Roman Poludnev, who you've just heard right now, General Manager, Honeywell Safety and Productivity Solutions. We have Sunil Nair, my surnamesake. He is the CIO of GMG. We've got Karthik Bhatt, who is the COO of Sharaf Retail. And we've got Rishikesh Bhatt, who is the head of IT at Eros Group. Thank you so much once again for joining us here. So, since Roman, you've given us that brilliant introduction, I thought it might be great to hear from you about this, right? So, we're talking about technologies that are meant to reshape the future of retail and what we are going to expect in the coming years. So, why don't you kick off with that? So, what are the top trends that retailers need to be mindful of and keep an eye out for?
I think important to mention that retail and brick and mortar in-store traffic is up this year, and basically also e-commerce is not slowing down much, at least from revenues and number of consumers' perspective. So basically, one of the things that putting a pressure on the retailers for sure is to deliver and compete for the customers. So delivery of smooth experience, it's basically seamless operations within the store, accuracy of the inventory, then planograms and all these things. So all of these actions are necessary to attract and sustain the shoppers, and definitely in-store associates embedded with digital technologies can help. So within last 2 years, we saw a significant development of auto ID equipment, especially in the area of mobility, but also a number of software developments that enable them. So basically, one of the areas that definitely will be expanding is the digitalization of in-store associates, in our opinion. And basically we've seen a trend, especially in US, in Europe, that more and more store associates becoming empowered by digital devices, the PDAs, right? And this is the reason why many brands, including us, Honeywell, released a kind of smartphone type of PDAs that allows to use a data collection terminal, which we called in the past, right? For everyday operations within the store and also even outside the store. So it's becoming a personalized device. So this is one of the trends. Then devices are actually becoming universal. One device fits all the tasks. So this is the second area, again associated to store associates. So basically communication, in-store communication functionality, then mobile POS is coming. Many solutions came to the market recently, and Honeywell also introducing one of their own solutions called SmartPay to turn an in-store mobile computer into a POS, basically to avoid the queues, first of all. And I think another area which is more software, not really hardware, is personalization. So retailers are investing their IT and development powers into the shoppers' personalization experience. So this is one of the big differentiators. From other technologies perspective, I would say that we've seen a rebirth of RFID. So RFID technology, especially in apparel, becoming more and more affordable, and traceability, stock taking, operations both accuracy and speed is increasing with this technology. And what is more important, that it's becoming more usable, more user-friendly. So ergonomics is increasing, and also, of course, the total solution package is decreasing, which popularize this technology. And one of the areas that is becoming in high demand is traceability. So track and trace is one of the areas. Honeywell is a vendor of track and trace solutions, so we're working on both barcode and RFID products. And I think third thing, which is one of the trends, is hybrid grocery shopping, right? So right now, retailers need to, especially grocery retailers, need to maintain their e-commerce and basically boost the in-store operations, which is required a number of things. It's maintenance and improvement of e-commerce and in-store, while keeping the same reasonable budgets for all these operations. And technologies that are coming from software vendor and also hardware vendor, including us, are supporting these technological trends.
Great, wow, you shared a lot of different technologies, and I think we'll have to break them down one by one during the session. But again, RFID is a conversation, there's a lot of debate around it today, right? If it is an outdated technology, if there is a lot of evolution happening of the RFID technology. But again, since you mentioned about grocery and how this hybrid grocery market is what we are looking at today. You know, I'm coming to you, Piyush. So Piyush, tell us about what has been happening. I know there's so many updates from Lulu that keeps coming, and you guys are doing so much with the advancements we've seen. A large fulfillment center that you've opened last year. So we know there's a lot going on. So take us or walk us through the tech that actually makes sense to you amidst all of this buzz there is.
Sure, thank you. And I think you talked about wonderful experience today. What we're trying to do at Lulu, and what I believe retail should be, is about experience. Yeah? And there are three things that are evolving. I'll kind of paint a picture here as to what we see and what I see as evolving retail. One is personalized engagement, which is what I think he was mentioning about. What is engagement? So you start with an engagement, then you create an experience out of that engagement. And then third, you create intimacy, which is what I think you talked about, the I. Yeah? So you engage, you give an experience, and then you create that intimacy so that you can have a long-lasting customer, which is what our customers do. Every week you come and shop with us, and kind of that is the long-lasting relationship that you need to build. Now, I've never believed, although I've spent my entire life in retail tech, I've never believed that technology comes first. So there's no one technology. If somebody says to me, what is the buzzword, what is the technology which will make this happen, I think nothing. It is predominantly this thought process, these processes, and these offerings, which are enabled and padded by technologies like Honeywell and so on and so forth. There's no one technology which you can say, now obviously there is a big buzz around saying that Web3, Metaverse, blah, 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 all that story. I don't know how much of that will remain after 5 years, and we have a debate on that. So, but let's not put cart in front of the horse. Yeah, let the technology evolve. The experience has to evolve, and as the experience evolves, the technology will follow. So, for example, I'll give you a very simple example. We use a lot of PDA solutions. Now, as a CIO, I have a choice today. Shall I invest in a building and giving a PDA in each and every store associate, or I invest in a robot which runs and does the same thing in the store? That's a choice which is available to a retailer as we speak today. Both the technologies have their pros and cons and the benefits which are out there. So you need to experiment a lot of these things, which ultimately leads to the three things that I talked about: good engagement, good experience, and creating intimacy with your customers at the end of it. And that is how I see things, and that is how things are evolving as we speak.
Great, thanks so much for that. And yes, we are going to come to Web 3.0 and NFT and Metaverse and all of that in just a bit. But before that, just touching upon what Piyush has said, right? It's about the technology that ensures engagement, experience, and intimacy. So if we are going by Piyush's philosophy of it, Tawfiq, I'd like to come to you now, because you are experimenting a lot with augmented reality, etc. The Brands for Less app is just such an efficient app, if I had to, give it an adjective at all, because that is one app which is very user-friendly, and again, with virtual try-ons that you've introduced, augmented reality, AR, VR, XR, all of that's going on the app, on your online sites. I feel like there is a lot that you can share with us in terms of examples of how these technologies have helped you increase productivity, profitability, efficiency online. So can you share more?
Okay, of course the concentration is both for the brick and mortar and for the online. And we have to keep our eyes on both channels. And one way which is very important is connecting both the brick and mortar with the online experience, whereby at the end of the day, everyone is looking for the experience of the customer. Today, from a brick and mortar, and because we're originally, and I think most of the people here are originally brick and mortar people. So, and I always like to focus on the brick and mortar. Lots of people look or try to look at this type of business or this channel as a dying business, which is, I don't believe it's the case. I think brick and mortar is there to continue to stay because of the experience, especially in our type of business, for example, because our business is based on a treasure hunt experience, and this treasure hunt experience requires really physical presence in the stores. So this is from starting from the starting point, which is the brick and mortar point. Now, what we do is we use this technology really to make the experience of the customer better in the brick and mortar to start with. So what we do is we try to reduce friction points between the salespeople and the customer by creating or infusing the omni-channel in terms of having, like, for example, I spoke about this before, having the eye mirrors in the stores, whereby if a customer does not find his size, he can go and check if he can get it through another other channel. At the same time, creating the digital wallet is extremely important to reduce friction, whereby the customer will go, if he doesn't like an item, he can return item, he can get a refund, through the app, through the mobile app. So all these technologies are there to really promote business and reduce, let's say, the bad experience of the client or the customer. Now, going towards the technology in general, whereby, and its effect on your logistics and its effect on your online platform. Of course, artificial intelligence today and what is available today is extremely valuable. And of course, there are lots of softwares. Some of them are good, some of them are not. That we are being bombarded on daily basis on everywhere by email, on LinkedIn, whatever. Some of them are good, some of them are not really good for our business. So I think It should be more of listening to the experience, and this is, I think, the reason behind this roundtable today, to listen to our requirement and accordingly try to sell us your product. I'm not talking about Honeywell only, I'm talking about all suppliers of technology in the market. So today, of course, there are certain technologies that are available that logically will really change your life. For example, the RFID. RFID is a technology. It's not a new technology, but it has been getting better and better with time, and it's a matter of accuracy. You know, it's very simple. Before it used to miss a certain percentage of the reading. Today, you know, the misses are so negligible, whereby it became a very solid tool for us to really to know what do we have in stores, what do we have in our warehouses, and you know, today you have the artificial intelligence softwares that are popping up for us to create this communication or a language between the two inventories, whereby you will have more of a pull strategy rather than a push strategy. When I say pull strategy, it means, you know, the shelves at the stores will tell the inventory at the warehouse what is needed today, what's needed tomorrow, what's needed after tomorrow. Of course, this also falls into the same network of going and planning your buying, having your open to buy plan, and of course, you know, dealing with logistics. I think we are very lucky to have all this technology at our hands today, but you have to remember today what also we are dealing. Sometimes we are dealing with viruses that are putting us at home. We are on the edge of World War III. We never know. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but you know, also there are lots of challenges. And I think you as provider of service or provider of software, it's always good to listen to our problems and try to give us solutions for the problems that we are facing today. This is in a nutshell.
Sure, and then a ship gets stuck in the middle of the ocean. Again, another supply chain bottleneck. There's so many unpredictable problems coming. But again, let me move on to you now, Sunil. With GMG, there's been a whole restructuring that has happened. And then you've also announced that it's a cloud-first strategy that you are implementing within your businesses. So obviously, you see a lot of potential in cloud computing and cloud computing technologies. Where exactly or how exactly has that been efficient or beneficial for GMG's operations in this whole digital transformation journey you're going through?
Let me go back to your earlier query. See, I think, you know, COVID has brought in a lot of changes, you know, in the way the board thinks today, right? You know, last 2 years of pre-COVID, you had a situation where, you know, as my colleague said, there was a focus on brick and mortar. Then COVID came in, you know, the focus changed to saying that, you know, let's look at Omni as a structure, right? You know, so the Omni buzzword came into parlance. It was nothing new, but, you know, the market created that there's an e-commerce and then there is a brick and mortar channel, right? What has happened by this thing is the digital transformation mantra has started. So when I say digital transformation, every board which I know of, at least in the Middle East I'm talking about, is talking about digital transformation in some form. So the point is, I think, where we need to look at is, you know, it's evolving right now as we speak. As everyone is putting is, it's too early to comment on what the end technology would be, but you know, everyone is experimenting in this space. The other thing that we are trying to look in, so from a cloud perspective, is unified commerce, right? So when we talk about experience, you know, we are looking at that one customer, right? Today, your customer is coming from an Omni. When I say Omni, your e-commerce world, somebody is shopping through my brick and mortar, somebody is doing my B2B business too, you know, so it's like a combined thing. But I got one customer. Today, do I have visibility to that one customer to service that? So-called personalization effect? I don't think so. Most retailers who claim to do that are experimenting as we speak. I will be honest, brutally honest here. So where we're trying to figure it out is, you know, is there a common synergy? And can the technology support that common synergy? See, if customer is the front of everything and personalization is the base for customer, I think we should look at a common cloud kind of thing. So when I say cloud, that is where we will have data points coming in, right? You know, so the other dimension of cloud where we are trying to attempt is on the customer data side. So if I can capture that one customer, you know, in the entire ecosystem, I've actually captured my entire DNA of how do I target that customer. You're getting a point. So that is where I think cloud would be, for me, a middle, I would say middle part to get that unified commerce thing. that's the North Star that every retailer is trying to attempt. Of course, there are challenges because it's not as easy as it sounds, right? Because the moment you say that I shop online, and I collect from brick and mortar, synergies are not there. Practically speaking, it's a two different P&Ls. My colleague on the left-hand side, Karthik, will explain you, right? Everyone has got his own P&L. Brick and mortar has got his own P&L. E-commerce has got. Till the time that doesn't come as one synergy, it's very difficult for us to target that one customer. I'm just repeating myself because that one customer is what is very important for me. And if that visibility is there, I think we are there. So cloud would be the base for me to start with. So where we are trying to do is we are collecting data from all the touch points of the customer point of view. I would rather go one more step ahead from a supply chain visibility. As you said, the most complex thing today is for me to serve the customer is supply chain. And today in simple languages, if I don't promise, so if I have promised you, I deliver 2 days, chances are that it's not today happening because for whatever reason, because I don't have visibility of my stocks, inventory visibility. So we are also focusing on that. So if I can get that data on cloud, so I'm talking about customer data, I'm talking about my product data, I'm talking about my vendor data. So if you can collect it, I have a better visibility. And if cloud can help it, so be it.
So just in that context then, do you think a lot of these functions are operating in silos, and now we're just not talking about the software and the technology we have available, but also teams in general within companies? Is that an issue?
Beautiful point. That's the whole topic. So when I broach this topic of saying that, look, there are disconnects, I think what is important is in this digital transformation is the change management also, right? And the acceptance also. Because what has happened is COVID has taken a different toll in terms of the entire go-to-market approach, right? So everyone wants to. Technically, if you ask any retailer for that matter, he's going to talk about omni-channel, right? As somebody said, I believe in brick and mortar. Somebody might say, if you talk on the other side, they said, e-commerce. But this has to gel together. And these are two different mindsets, right? If you talk to a brick and mortar retailer or a CEO and talk to a CEO of a online channel, they are different metrics, different KPIs at the end of the day. So if you marry this from an omni perspective, then that is where I think the North Star would be. And that is where I think collectively, each and every retailer would find a space to work on. And if you crack that code, probably you will look at that customer, right? Then as Piyush said, product, the change management, everything will be aligned to that common customer. But today, yeah, there are pockets of disconnects. We need to ensure that there is a common synergy.
Right. So then in that context, then I know you're not a fan of it, but I have to bring in Web 3.0, right? Because that's what it's sort of doing to this entire ecosystem. There's an element of decentralization and also breaking free of those silos that's happening. So let me bring you in, Karthik, now, right? So we spoke about it briefly outside. So we've spoken about Web 3.0, and there are certain words that are associated with it, be it ownership, be it decentralization. But you mentioned hyper-personalization would be your go-to word for Web 3.0 at this stage where we are at. So talk to us about the evolution that you've seen from Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and what it really means, all these versions of the internet.
You'd be surprised. Everybody has a different version of Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is probably a beautiful lady everybody wants to date. Not a lot of people can manage, not a lot of people can afford, not a lot of people can stay with. And I've seen that happen with a lot of businesses. Believe you me, retail and technology have had a love and hate relationship for last 3 decades. 15, 20 years ago, everybody was talking about CRM. Salesforce and Siebel made billions and billions of dollars by trying to sell CRM. People invested millions and they didn't know what to do with it. Even retailers today struggle with basic ERP like an SAP. They have an SAP implementation team and then they struggle in terms of how do I even make a purchase order out of it. Historically, everybody has been on this technology bandwagon, be it a brick and mortar retailer, be it a online retailer. Technology, the definition or the relevance of technology depends on what seat do you sit in. Now, for example, perspective for technology for a chief information officer or for a chief digital officer is going to be very different from somebody like me who needs to necessarily balance out a P&L. I would love to have fancy technology. Can my business afford it? That's the first question. Second, we always have believed technology is an answer to everything. Believe you me, it's not. It's the same old war philosophy. It's not the machine, it's the man behind the machine that makes a difference. Getting technology is not difficult. Managing it is difficult. In my business, or maybe the diversity that we have, which is at one end we have Forever 21, which is an extremely fashion-forward business which probably thrives on inventory which thrives on product, it thrives on customer and one view of customer, to a completely different like Adventure HQ, which is a lifestyle product, an adventure product, which necessarily thrives on only a particular way of being. Technology plays a very different role. Hyper-personalization in a business like Forever 21, where I have a DIY Web 3.0 platform, which is triggered by either a recommender engine or maybe a lot of artificial intelligence coming in, which creates an experience dovetailed to your shopping behavior, in line with the way route through which, or the discovery channel or the funnel that through which you've entered into my business, to a business like Adventure HQ, where I need to have a very strong conversational AI-based bots, which necessarily create assisted shopping, because people take as many as 33, 34 sessions before they get into a purchasing of a kayak, which is a 55,000 dirham product for them. So depending on where you are, your relevance changes. But hyper-personalization, especially in the fashion business, has been doing a lot of different activities for us, all the way from tracking the customer's life cycle or trying to bring in repeats at certain level, to using a very strong recommender to make sure that the lifetime value of the customer increases. Because unfortunately or unfortunately, there are almost 700 retailers of small and big size in this region trying to catch 10 million customers, out of which only 4 million are online and shopping online. So what used to be a CPC of around 65, 60, 70 fills a few years ago has now gone to $1.80 or $1.90. Now at $1.90, when I have a bounce rate of around 35-40% and a conversion of 2.5-3% in my online platform, I would necessarily end up having a ROS, a return on ad spend, of 4x to 6x. At 4x to 6x, if you are a venture funded e-commerce business, you would be able to survive, because you are chasing valuations, you are chasing NMVs. We are retailers. Retailers at the end of the day have cash flows, have P&Ls, have very strong brick and mortar business, which typically across the board would be contributing 75-80% of the business. Pandemic took us to 35% e-commerce business, which is a beautiful thing. It showed us a different way of doing business. But still, and now after the pandemic, where the rentals in the retail business came down, they've started going back again. So the balance is continuously shifting for us. So technology continues to be an enabler. When people talk to me about voice commerce, when people talk to me about Internet of Things, I love those ideologies. I believe when one of my brands is also a partner with Google in trying out Internet of Things in the US, where voice-based transactions are done. One of my food and beverage business is partner with Amazon in trying out new technology in terms of cashless stores. It's a beautiful thing, but it's about adopting and bringing them in the business. From a supply chain point of view, with the cost, the way the costs have gone up in the last 6 to 8 months, cost of goods have gone up necessarily by around 18 to 24%, and hence one necessarily needs to bring in RFID as a technology to make sure what used to be a luxury in the past is necessary evil today. If I have to manage 12 to 15 million units in my business every day across my network, I would need a faster means of evaluating and measuring my stock. More importantly, data, which used to be a luxury again in the past, is now a necessary evil. We used to survive with a 180-day, 210-day cover. At current cash flow levels, we need to use big data and a lot of algorithms around replenishment, around OTBs, around purchases, to make sure our inventory covers are brought down to a measurable and manageable 120 days. Any retailer, especially in the fashion or the food business, with inventory which goes beyond a 3x multiple, would survive from a cash flow point of view. So what technology does to different people in different businesses is very different. Whether it is augmented reality, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is convergence 2.0. 2020 people were talking about convergence 2.0, which is necessarily trying to sell in my business, trying to sell a bike to a customer through his community, through an experience, through services, and through my online platform. I'm integrating 4 different networks to make sure that the customer has a 360-degree view of my business, and all the way from the product to the community, to the services, to the experience, he stays associated. At the end objective is to maximize his RFM. I need him to shop with me more, I need him to shop with me more frequently, and I need him to buy more from me. That's the end objective in the business.
Right. Oh, wow. That's a lot to take in. But again, so now we're talking about like a lot of the businesses here, a lot of the retailers here, and Roman, maybe you could help with some solutions for this, right? We're talking about diversified businesses, like we saw with Sharaf Retail, there's Adventure HQ, and there's a Forever 21. With GMG, with the acquisition of Region, there's food, then there's the Sun and Sand Sports, that leisure, all of that. So such diversified businesses for a retailer that has a group CIO, for example, or like a group head who has to manage all of these different operations with access to similar technologies, where even Karthik was talking about integration being the problem. And one of the issues we've seen in the past is people or customers have had different experiences online and offline, right? When they go on one particular brand's online channel, they get a different experience, and offline, because it's their traditional mode, it's been a completely different experience. So we're talking about this overall, I know it's different philosophies that I'm throwing at you right now, but then we're talking about this overall integration of all of these systems, software, etc., to give this one unique experience for customers that they can relate to. So what technologies out there are available to help do that?
Mhm. So Honeywell is one of the most diversified vendors of technologies for retail and fulfillment. So we do have everything from the scanner down to turnkey distribution center, fully automated distribution center. And one of the solutions that we recently released called Connected Retail. It's basically hiring Honeywell as an expert to identify the common approach to problems that retailer has. So we do have, for example, if you look into fulfillment, 3 levels of automation and productivity improvement. First one, I think, is the most popular and most widely used in the retail is wearable technology, which is picking up quite well especially since 2020, obviously. So devices becoming smaller, more ergonomic, Android doing a lot of technological changes, and actually with the APIs integration, it becoming easier and easier to introduce new tools into store associate and also DC workers. So this is one area that actually gives productivity through, first of all, empowerment of the associate and workers, and second of all, visibility throughout their operations. Basically, you can see performance of individuals and things like that. So this is the first level of connected solution that we can provide. The second one, I think, is very relevant to these different businesses where you do have within one roof food, large items, apparel, and everything is voice. Actually, voice-guided work delivers outstanding performance, and it's flexible enough to manage all of these things simultaneously. And what it gives also, basically, at least 20 to 30% productivity improvement. Again, all these benefits as wearable technology, and it can be combined with wearable technologies. KPIs, so you can actually motivate your workers not only within the salary, but give them incentive for doing better the job in almost absolute accuracy, 99.5%. And the third area, of course, which is needs like a deep knowledge and specialization, which is basically a robotic and automated fulfillment. You need to know what you're building the automated DC for. So it's a risky area, longer ROI, but it delivers obviously this fastest way of fulfillment, right? So basically, I think in our region it's a bit challenging because regulation change all the time, and you can build something and in 2 years it become less relevant. So I think this is the most risky area. However, Honeywell can consult and provide solution of any scale within this frame and remove these concerns, because typically we guarantee the result and remove these concerns of picking a wrong technology or having fragmented clouds that you need to connect together.
Navigating around regulations would be a whole other conversation, maybe another time. But I just wanted to remind all our audiences here, if you have any questions, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to take them. Any questions from anyone here? And we've also got mics around.
So I heard a lot of talking about technologies, and there is no one particular technology that can help a particular retailer. And so, but what are the key technologies that you're expecting to come out in the future to keep the customer engaged with your brand? Because there are a lot of things coming out. Web 3.0 you discussed. There's the metaverse. So I think it's to the panel. There's a lot of things that can be done with the with respect to engaging the customer, but what is it that you're seeing in the Middle East that will help engage a particular customer with a particular brand?
So technology for customer engagement, I think. Is there any takers?
Yeah. So probably I think, so what we're talking about is generally today what the policy, it's nothing about the future, trust me. I think, metaverse, as we said, is an ideology for me today. Personally speaking, let's wait for that maturity. But as we speak right now, let me put it in a simple language, supply chain visibility. So I am talking about from a business case. If you can give me a solution to that, whether it's a product or whether it's a software, fair enough. Again, one view of customer, is there a solution towards it? The customer experience on the store side of it, is there a solution? I'm not naming anything because if you name it, becomes a very niche thing like IoT, AI, ML. I'm not talking about those things. Realistically, if I am a CIO, I need to explain that in logical terms. How does it relate to the problems that I'm carrying today, right? And from an Omni perspective, this is the most important challenges that any retailer will face. It's easy for me to give jargons, getting a point. So metaverse today, as we speak, is a jargon for me. But what happens is today the reality is RFID, as somebody said. RFID, can I use that in reality? Yes, today. I mean, RFID was what, donkeys yet? It's been what, 20 years? But today you have enough cases. Even now when I speak here, I see that RFID is looked in from a visibility perspective, inventory, but no, it's gone beyond that. Today, if I can put a tag on my shoes, in Nike shoes, can I track that from a personalization perspective, right? So RFID has got enough use cases to build on the story, right? Now we're talking about AI, ML, all those stuff, right? So gradually, if I bring a data layer, right? So when I said, we are trying to bring in a customer platform, what does that mean? I collect the data. When I collect the data, can I use AI on top of it to give that personalization effect, right? Coming back to my food business, so I've acquired, so we are into food manufacturing, distribution, right? Can I look IoT as one of the things, right? Food, so Industrial 4.0, I don't understand too much of it, but the point is, can I do automation on that part? What does it relate to? Yeah? Somebody spoke about Honeywell provides something on refrigeration, cold refrigeration products also. Is there a solution towards it, right? It's all about trying to see that if there is a dollar spent on inventory, can I save that on that part? If there is a dollar spent on customer acquisition, which is a huge cost, as we all agree, is there a technology available to it? Yeah. So what we are trying to put in terms of jargon is the technology names in front of us, right? But if it doesn't make sense for a business to thrive on, that technology is useless for me, right? RFID, typically, if you had spoken to me around 10 years back, I would have said it's a huge cost for me. Should I be taking it? No. But today there is a business case. Yeah. So I'm just answering you indirectly, rather than telling you like, look, there is AI, ML, IoT, everything is there. But there should be a business case and there should be value towards it. Yeah. I hope I have answered you.
So can I add just one thing? Because, at the end of the day, we are here to exchange information and try to benefit from each other. He was asking about what product, like, I can share one challenge that we are having, of course, trying to really shop for some of the augmented reality softwares, like, for example, the smart dressing. I don't think the technology until today, someone was really perfect it. I think we are so far from perfection. And I think this will really boost online business like crazy, especially for people who are into the fashion business.
Is Honeywell taking note? The smart dressing required?
To add to what Tawfiq was saying, and expectations of the shoppers have changed. Believe you me, you would have been surprised and happy to receive your goods on the third or the fourth day, 10 years ago. Today you want your goods to be delivered in 45 minutes because Zomato delivers your food in 45 minutes. So as a business, I am compelled to have a last mile delivery partner which, irrespective of what part of the country he is in, delivers the goods in 2 to 3, which means my supply chain efficiencies, my cost increases substantially, and hence I need to have a multi-channel fulfillment network. That's first. Second, today customer wants the same experience on the platform as he gets on a physical store, and believe you me, for a lot of businesses, it's extremely challenging. Try and get into a situation where a 40,000 BMC bike needs to be showcased to a customer through a video chat, through an assisted shopping network, where he engages almost approximately 2 to 3 hours with different selling agents or different servicing agents. That is where technology plays a solution for us. Am I in a position to place the power of the decision making into the customer? Web 2.0 was all about, I am a retailer, I am a seller, come and shop from me. Web 3.0 is all about, I am the customer, get your goods to me if you can. If you are able to get your goods to me right at my doorstep, you have my business. Otherwise, there are a lot of other people who want to do business. That's how it has changed.
I hope that's answered all your questions. Great. Okay. I feel like, Ramit, you've been attacked in this panel. So the reason I'm saying it is Shalu Group has been doing a lot with the metaverse in the NFT space and all of that. But again, he's got a great example to give and share with us, because I think Shalu launched its NFT collection early in May, and then within 5 minutes it was all sold out. So one of the questions I'd asked Nick Winkier, who was on that panel, was, you are in the metaverse, but are your customers really in the metaverse yet? And he just said, we'll see, and was sold out in 5 minutes. So wouldn't that count as a success story now, wouldn't it? So Ramit, let us talk about the metaverse a little bit, right?
Let's talk about it. The exciting stuff now. But the thing is, but firstly, thank you for having me and for this really diversified panel. I'm sorry, by the way, I can't make eye contact with everyone, unfortunately. But before I talk about metaverse, I've actually taken so many notes. My mind is like blowing with so many amazing, and I call this a learning experience because so many cool things were said. And a few comments before I can just talk about metaverse. And I actually completely agree with you in terms of the underlying experience factor, right? And you mentioned experience, and I think everybody's kind of mentioning the same thing in their own terms, in their own language, or different technology. But end of the day, I think as retailers or resellers or e-com or whatever you want to call us, I think experience is the most important thing. If a customer is online, we got to go online. If she is offline, we got to go offline. So I think we need to go where a customer is, wherever she goes, wherever she shops, the way she wants to interact. And this is, I think, the most important thing. So I completely agree with you, actually. And to be fair, taking a side step, if tomorrow the consumer is in the metaverse, then I don't think anyone has a choice here but to be on the metaverse, right? And we'll come to that again. But I love what you said about being lucky. And I think I wrote the word lucky over there because you're absolutely right. We are exceptionally lucky here to have access to data, access to talent, access to information, and these sessions that you lovely people organize for information sharing, because we have so many different things to choose from as a business that actually leads to the same objective of basically working towards an experience and then leading to sales and conversion and things like that. So that's great. You mentioned intimacy, and again, completely agree. Intimacy is kind of vertically integrated, I would say, in most brands, because we thought about intimacy means being close, right? This is what you think about. But intimacy and loyalty, the way they're kind of coinciding now is through the roof. You mentioned about getting a delivery in 45 minutes. There's also a certain part of intimacy over there in terms of I'm getting my food in 45 minutes, I'm getting my stuff in 10 minutes, and I think that closeness is actually definitely the way to go. Aside from that, coming to metaverse, and before actually, and this just came to our mind because a lot of people here would be not wondering what metaverse is, because I don't think anybody really knows here what metaverse is, to be very, very honest here. But I feel, how many of you do you think metaverse is a hashtag? Is a hashtag metaverse? That's it? I mean,
I love to flaunt.
Don't you go on LinkedIn? but I mean, so the answer I have for that question is, for someone who's looking after technology, Will says it's a hashtag, I may not have a use for it, may or may not, depending on the business. For a marketer, it's a dream to have a hashtag. So I want to start off by saying there's never going to be or. I love the word and. It's never been or. When e-com came up, it wasn't like e-com disrupted retail forever. I mean, even Facebook, Meta announced Metaverse, and they opened a store to talk about their products. So, I don't know why we get into debates about offline and online. I think we're over all that. I think it's 100% offline is here to stay. 100%, in my opinion. So that is one thing. The second thing is taking a view around technology. And I've been lucky, again, that using the same word, to be in a space where I've actually, for most of my adult life, I've had first-hand experience to technology, whether it's hardware or software. And now that I look back, actually, I think it was the experience of Web 2, like growing with Web 2, growing with Instagram, Facebook, and growing with these technologies when a lot of people had different views. And for the most part, I would hear a very dystopian view about technology. And I grew up with that, where my father would tell me that don't spend your time on this. And I was doing my MBA, don't spend your time on Facebook. And I use this example all the time. He actually spends way more time than I do right now on that. more than that, it's actually one of the most efficient channels to target people who are over 65 years old. It's a marketing tool. In less than 12 years, they have disrupted, I don't know how many years old industry. So I feel like dystopian is one view, and then you have a super utopian view where everything is metaverse, and then the hashtag again. Everybody, I mean, you just talk about, I don't know, sneakers and it's metaverse, and you talk about everything is metaverse. And I kind of feel like that's a bit too much. But I like to use the word protopian, and someone very close to me taught me this word, which means that work in a way that tomorrow is better than today. So coming back to technology, I think using all these cool things that these guys spoke about, using it for the right objective, again for the same ultimate aim of improving the experience for a customer is basically the way to go. Now, jumping right to metaverse, now I'm really excited again to talk about this because it is happening. And you talk about, if we all agree that we need to be where a customer is, then we should look at trends. And I think the gentleman asked a question about what's the future in terms of technology. Look at where the consumer is going. There are some data points that you can already look at. The customers today in the US, I don't know if you, Gen Zs is a very common term we hear these days, right? Most of the Gen Zs in US are on Roblox, are on Fortnite. These are platforms, gaming platforms, where they're telling the parents that, don't give me pocket money, give me Robux, which is I can go and buy digital shoes, digital, I don't know, clothes, and avatars, you know, and all of that. If they come tomorrow and they want to be on the metaverse again with a hashtag, then do you think we have a choice but not to be there? And I feel like we won't have a choice. 15 years back, 18 years back, if someone spoke about internet, I think most of us saw the rise and fall of internet in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, dot-com bubble and all that. If someone actually really took that seriously, saying internet is not here to stay, then someone wouldn't have created Amazon, you know? If someone would have asked, their finance manager would have asked in 1999, what's your ROI? There was no answer. So I think the way to look at it is trends, is user behavior. User behavior today points out, I personally don't see any future where this will not exist, which is a combination of associated technologies of metaverse. Again, when I say that, I mean the underlying technologies, AR. I think you mentioned AR, sorry. And a lot of people don't know that by using just a filter on Instagram, you're already in the metaverse, or at least one step towards that future. So I think all of us are using that technology, and we as a group are investing in areas where we feel our customers are going. And to your point about, yes, we launched the Christoph NFT, and it sold out under 5 minutes, which was great. And everybody was excited about it because it was the first step into the metaverse. And I personally feel it goes really well in terms of mapping consumption is one thing, and the buying and selling is a trading element, but also this can be used for marketing, for brand building. I think this is limitless opportunities in that space for a brand rather to express themselves.
Great. So I am pro metaverse, by the way. Like, I am on that side of the debate, if at all there is a debate on this. But then the question really is, in a cash-crunched economy, right? When we're talking about prioritizing investments in technologies that are available, is it really worth putting in all of that money into a space that is still evolving, that is still something that people don't really quite understand yet, and also customers, most of the customers are obviously online, as in the internet that we know today, and or in the stores. They're not really in the metaverse. So is it really worth the investment would be my question then?
I mean, obviously not putting all your money in, for sure. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And I think one gentleman mentioned here, that using technology just for the sake of using technology doesn't make any sense. End of the day, we got a P&L. And end of the day, we got to see the same Excel sheet, whether it's metaverse or not, right? So I think to answer your question, evolving with the trends, again, going back to the same point of seeing where your customer is going, of actually understanding if by using that certain technology, I'm going to make things better. Mm-hmm. And if you actually do this exercise of looking at any technology, you mentioned a bunch of technologies, you know, RFID and all these AI and ML. End of the day, as businesses, if you're integrating these technologies in either in the supply chain or in a customer-facing experience or in terms of analytics, data, end of the day, we're doing all this for the consumer and customer. So to your point, I think if you use augmented reality, like IKEA used it for selling furniture, it's brilliant. You spoke about kayaks. I mean, I'm pretty sure in the future, you'll sell these way of virtual reality or AR whenever it's ready. And when the trends actually start moving in that direction, I think that's the time when businesses need to start investing. I come from a virtual reality background, And when we launched it, it was extremely difficult to sell virtual reality, aside from to a gamer, because then it's an easy use case for a gamer to get in and start doing these things. But for a business to invest in that infrastructure, PCs, headsets, ecosystem, content, it didn't make sense. Now, if those virtual reality headsets look like glasses, pair of glasses, and everybody has one, right? And actually, I'm going to take a side note on this. City GPS had a report where they actually predicted by 2030 they're going to be 900 million to 1 trillion, 1 billion, what am I saying, headsets that are going to be out in the market. And there are going to be 5 billion unique users on the internet. When that happens, 100%, I think businesses will start creating these, whether it's marketing, then you'll create all these omni experiences, which are going to be cross-platform. You're going to go from Instagram, as an example, from your headset to your PC, to your phone, to your whatever device you have. Or in the back end, you can use it for training, you can use it for learning, education, expressing yourself, communication. So I think go with the times. And my one thing I have to say about that is kind of linked to what you asked, is that I don't think you can look at all these technologies and start ticking boxes what you need in the business. It's more importantly, end of the day, list your objectives first and see if any of the technologies are actually helping you, and then do the math and say if it's making sense for me or not to do that. But metaverse or not, hashtag or not, I mean, we like it, we don't like it, you can't ignore it. It's happening, it's all around us, and I think it's going to happen.
Exactly. The question is how far or how long can we ignore it for, until it actually becomes mainstream. But that is a good segue to my next question then, right? And this is for the entire panel, but I will start with you, Rishikesh. I'm sorry, you're sitting right beside me, so it's come right at the end. So we've always looked at sales per square feet and metrics like that to measure the success of a business, right? In a digital era that we live in, that is no longer redundant, or that is no longer as prominent as it was before. So today, what would you say are the new metrics for success for your retail business? And let me start that with you, Rishikesh.
So when we look at sales per square feet, or the e-commerce, overall experience of the customer matters. Okay, today I have a limited space in terms of retailing. So when I'm talking about consumer electronics retailing, and you can only have that much of space for your display of products or anything. So the seamless experience which you give to the customer, okay, whether it is through online platform or through a brick and mortar store, what technologies could augment that is something which you need to invest into. One of the things which probably we are experimenting right now is endless aisle concept. So in endless aisle, basically, I cannot display all my products in the limited space which I have. So probably you can have a kiosk, or we are also trying with VR, so that you can have an experience in terms of how the appliance looks like, how the entire product is there, the entire description of the products, and all those things also are coming in through. So I think these matrices will keep on changing, and we need to evolve in those matrices. And today we cannot limit the customer experience, as Piyush said, in terms of we have to see that the intimacy continues all across.
Got it. Same question for you then, Piyush. What would you say is your new metric to measure success in your business today?
Well, see, I think I'll build on to what we have been discussing, and I think we are in a very unique spot in retail today. This is the first time in history that there are 5 generations of shoppers, yeah, right from baby boomers to Gen Z, and there will be a next generation called metaverse generation, right? Yeah, for sure, which is a very, very different creature in itself. So, if we were to really, and as a retailer, the biggest problem that we have, and for a retailer like Lulu, which has, we sell right from a small pin to anything that you want in lifestyle and things like that. And you have 5 generations shopping in the same shop. It is very difficult to serve everybody's need. Yeah, and so as the enterprises are evolving, see, enterprises are in 3 stages of evolution. The first stage was people were still grappling with the ERPs and the enterprise applications. The POS are not working. The ERP value is not yet delivered. You've burnt in billions and millions of dollars in enterprise applications. You still yet to get value out of it. Then there is this cloud, AI, ML, and technology. And then suddenly this boom, this metaverse comes, right? So you have to balance the old enterprise tech, the so-called modern cloud enterprise tech, and then now the metaverse enterprise tech platform. The merger of these 3, I don't know what will happen. Yeah, you will. What I always said, that enterprises were moving in 2 different. The enterprise tech was moving very slow, Then this more agile cloud came in, which was moving a little faster. And metaverse is moving at a speed and a pace which nobody understands. Nobody understands as of now. The coin, the NFT can go to something and then go to something else the next night. Yeah. So we don't know how those dynamics are panning out. And that is the kind of reality that we are in. The only reality which is true is we have to follow the customer. And as you rightly said, if let's say I see that at least 8 to 10% of my customers have moved to metaverse, that is the right time to look at that seriously. Yeah. If there is 1 or 2%, let others burn their money, and then we'll see and learn from them. That's how I see as a technology. There will be some leaders who will do that. Maybe they will grab a bigger market. But if there is a threshold of the 10 to 15% of your customer base moving towards a technology trend, which is out there, then that is a sure shot indication that you need to be serious about it. Till then, you can experiment, do a small POC, do things like that. But when your customer is moving and you still go against the tide and say that, boss, I believe that this is a trend not for me, I think that is the wrong, and a lot of people are caught on the wrong foot for e-commerce, right? Maybe pre-COVID, a lot of people believed that that is not a trend. That is surely a trend. It will take its own time. The organizations are still trying to understand, as Sunil was saying, omni-channel. I'm pretty honest, a lot of enterprises today, they're talking about personalization, but one of the basic tenets of personalization is having a very robust customer data platform.
Correct.
And I can bet you, in true sense, a very, very cloud-native customer data platform, most of the organizations don't have. Yeah, they rely on some disparate data systems which are disjoint, which don't understand what customer behavior is, and they try to do personalization. So everybody is trying to do what? They don't know how. Yeah? And that is where the reality is. So organizations need to take calculated steps towards this. Metrics play a very important role, coming to your question. Yeah? And that is where are your metrics omni-channel in nature? Are your metrics customer-centric in nature? If you continue to have saying category sales, sales per square feet, and supply chain efficiency as disjointed metrics, you will never be able to deliver to the experience that everybody is talking about. So make your metrics more omni-channel, make your metrics more customer-centric, and you will see the difference.
Amazing.
Can I jump in if you don't mind? Actually, I love that what you just mentioned. And I think I encourage everyone to look at Nike as an example. I think the way I'm pretty sure you're aware that Nike decided to stop selling online in any other channel excepting Nike, right? Unless, I mean, there are some obviously traders doing it, but they decided to focus only on their online platform, which is an app and web experience. And I love the way they, again, vertically integrated loyalty and sales and intimate loyalty, like we said earlier, and also proactively using it to basically not just forecast sales, because now when you're mapping the customer's usage, you know when they've bought it and you know how much they're using it with when they're going for running. They possibly know when the consumer is going to change their shoe before even the consumer knows it. And I think that is brilliant, right? And not only, I mean, a lot of people think loyalty is just pushing offers. Sure, you can do that, but I think getting data, and to your point about what sort of metrics are important, I think online that metric is very important, in my opinion. Jumping back to a little bit more future, because I think I completely agree, by the way, we still look at sales per square feet and all that. You have to for the most part look at quite a few things. It moved from that to basically looking at footfall, right? And then went to gender, and then went to demographics, and then started going to conversions, demo per conversion, and all those things. But one thing I'm particularly very excited about when it becomes mainstream, you said you've been experimenting with VR. With virtual reality, I think what you can get in terms of data is advanced 3D data, which you can't get today. Sure. What I mean by that is that if you ask a retailer today, and I think all of us have faced this problem, is that what is the customer interested in terms of branding when they walk into the store? And then you start guessing. You start putting branding somewhere, and you start putting offers, and you do A/B testing and all those things. With a VR headset, or with any sort of a headset, let's say advanced XR headset, you can pretty much literally see eyeball movement. And there's a technology called foveated rendering, which means you can, processing is going to happen in a way that it's only going to process the area that the person is looking at, which means that imagine that in the back end as a data feedback coming to a brand. Say I walked into the store, actually you may think that I looked at your big ad for that big whatever you're selling, but actually I was looking at something completely different. And I feel that sort of data I'm pretty excited about in the future, because then it goes back and allows us to retarget, rework, and pretty much work with our consumers in a more intimate manner.
Yeah, and it's also tricky, isn't it? Because there's a lot of facial recognition softwares that are doing it, but then the whole privacy debate comes into play. So it's just this very fine line that, you know, retailers, businesses, and customers are treading on at this stage. And also another thing that you mentioned about loyalty, we were at NRF earlier this year, and I think it was the Walmart CEO who mentioned his definition of loyalty is basically the absence of something better, and that is my new favorite definition now for the whole concept of loyalty. Having said that, I'm going to open the floor once again for questions. I know a lot of you have questions, so now would be a good time to ask those questions, because we are going to wrap up the session very soon so we can head outside for the networking. So any more questions for our panelists here?
We have a very diverse panel here tonight, which is great, not only in your designation, but also your field of business. It's everything from sporting goods and apparel, fashion, grocery, food, electronics. But there is something that I picked up. I mean, you all have different challenges because of the product and the consumer that you have in your store. But there is something that I picked up as a common theme here tonight, and a lot of you have talked about it, and that is the experience, customer experience. You've talked a lot about that, but that would then also translate into your customer engagement. Now, there are a lot of interesting technologies out there for customer engagement. One of them is beaconing, where you basically locate, with real-time location, you track the consumer as they walk through your store. And at certain locations, based on where they are in the store and what the product they're looking at, for instance, you could target them with particular marketing promotions, that type of thing. So I would like to know from the panel if any of you have explored technologies like that, or something similar, and what your experience was.
I can. So we used to before, a few months back, we used to run a joint venture. It was a retail as a service company. It was actually pretty much built on that model, similar model, which was we had these really sophisticated cameras in the store. Again, they wouldn't do facial recognition, but they would guess, and they would not maybe know Shruti, but they would know someone has walked in So basically the store was built in a way which was about experience, but measuring those experiences, which means imagine a store being drawn up as placements, and you would put a product in each placement. As an example, if it's a phone, and you put it in a placement, it's been drawn up with a camera, feeding back to a platform, and each time a consumer would pass that, it would count as an impression. Similarly, the way you see online as an impression, right? And then every time she would look at the product more than 5 seconds, that counts as a discovery, right? And then if I decide to do a demo, that's a demo. And then buy, support, all of that. So with that, what happened was basically as a brand, and especially brands that are smaller brands who are trying to understand their consumer, for them this was a goldmine, because you would pretty much not only know your success because of sales, you would get quantitative feedback in a real-time offline environment in terms of impressions, demos, discoveries, conversions, after sales returns, all of that. At the same time, you had a store team who would give you a qualitative feedback about your product and experience. And this company is called Beta, and then Beta would actually take all this feedback in and put it on the platform, and the brands could share it. So it's actually a very relevant case, and there are many companies, Retail Next as a company who's doing this particularly well, in my opinion. They have these really sophisticated cameras that are giving that real-time analytics that are quite helpful.
Yeah, a particular experiment that we're trying out with one of our business divisions, which is Adventure HQ. Let's say you walk into one of our Adventure HQ stores. If you spend more than 45 seconds in a particular section, which is either the camping section or the kayaking section or the biking section, technology automatically picks up your interest level. We're trying to replace our store associates with virtual associates. So you get a checklist. Typically, if you are out to buy camping equipment, you would necessarily end up buying 30, 35 items, because that's what makes up a camping kit list. You get a virtual camping kit list on your handphone. All you need to do is tick those items, and automatically at the end of checkout, you would have it. We expect to roll it out by end of September, which is where the season begins. We just hope technology supports us in rolling it out. But that's where we see a real life case example of replacing, I wouldn't say replacing, augmenting my customer service associates with a far better solution selling approach.
Hope that answers your questions. Great. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody on the panel. I've got a zillion other questions to ask. Unfortunately, we're running short on time, and I don't want to take away from the time of networking that we can do. So once again, thank you, Piyush. Thank you, Ramit, Taufik, Roman, Sunil, Karthik, Rishikesh. Thanks again for joining us here. But again, we're not done. We have one more person to listen to. So let me just invite up on stage Tasin Seaman, Sales Director, Honeywell Productivity Solutions, to come up on stage. And we would love to hear from you on this closing note.
So we heard about the technology trends and how the technology trends reshape the ecosystem, the retail. And I mean, now I know what to do when I go into a shop, because I think it's a kind of a mirrored person. So you know everything about me. And I've heard a lot about Metaverse. I've heard a lot about iCloud, big data, AR. So all this is actually leading to Honeywell, customer user experience, customer behavior, and customer journey. So if we'll take these three words, it's all about actually productivity, efficiency, and profitability. That's what we are all looking for. And that's actually where Honeywell also comes in. And if it comes to these three key words, that's where we would like to support you, would like to accompany you in your journey, in the customer journey as well. And we have here a lot of solutions. We would like also to show you, all of you. But again, thank you very much for attending this panel. It was an honor for us. It was really great discussion. And with that, I would like to invite you all to the gala dinner, which is next in the next room. Thank you very much again.